Welcome to the Utah Manufacturers Association, UMA on the Hill, week 2. That's right, it's week 2 of the legislative session already, and we're moving along on the types of bills that we're tracking as an organization, and lots of things happening. So today I'd like to take a few minutes and spend some time in today's video cast and talk a little bit about air quality and energy bills. We often see a lot of those issues at the legislature, and we focus on a lot of topics related to air quality, to energy production, and the challenges that sometimes we face along the Wasatch Front. So I'd like to talk about a few of those things and maybe set a little bit of the background. The Manufacturers Association has a long history of participating in the environmental and regulatory arena. We have very active committees on environmental quality, on air quality, and on water quality, as well as a myriad of other topics that we focus on. So it's not new for us to be involved in this space, and we do spend a lot of time in that area. When it comes to the legislature, we look at a lot of different types of issues that are focused on air quality. A number of years ago, about 3 years ago, there was created an Air Quality Policy Advisory Board, created by the legislature, a joint group of citizens as well as legislators who serve on this Air Quality Policy Advisory Board and review legislation that comes before the legislature and helps draft that legislation, tweak it, monitor it, move it a little bit, and help it be more effective. The end result in getting the most return on our investment for what we do in the air quality front. So we all know Utah has some challenges in that arena. I serve as chairman of that Air Quality Policy Advisory Board with a number of individuals on that board, including senators and House of Representative members. And I'm pleased to be and honored to be chair of that board. Just yesterday, we met and reviewed a number of bills. We have legislators come before us as the board, talk about the bill that they have numbered, what the purpose of that issue is, how it's going to impact air quality, and help us get into what we refer to as attainment. So maybe just a little bit of background on that is that we all know that sometimes during the winter, certainly maybe not this winter because it feels like spring out there, but we do have issues with air quality. We know that in particular, the Salt Lake Valley is in a bowl. We have mountains on the sides of us, and it gets cold in the valleys when we have that snow on the ground, and the warm air rises and the cool air gets trapped down below, and we get that inversion. This is not new to Utah. In fact, the Native American tribes in Utah actually had a word for it, and it was there are lots of cases in which we've seen that. However, over the years, we have done better with air quality. A lot of folks don't want to believe that, but our air quality today is significantly cleaner than it was traditionally. We still have our challenges, though. We still have issues with PM 2.5, particulate matter 2.5. Not to be confused with PM10, which is what you would see as fugitive dust that's coming off of fields, construction sites, gravel pits, those types of things. That's PM10. PM 2.5 is not visible, but those are the things, the particulate matter that we deal with, much of that coming from tailpipes along the Wasatch Front and other types of sources. So with that bowl and with that inversion comes challenges in our relationship with the Division of Air Quality through the Department of Environmental Quality as well as the EPA. And we participate in what is called a SIP, or a statewide implementation plan, where we look at PM 2.5, volatile organic compounds, VOCs, NOx, CO2, all of those items and contaminants that go into the air that then have an impact on all of us. Now, industry is heavily regulated by the Division of Air Quality and EPA on what you can and can't emit based on your permit. And so our companies are heavily regulated on that. Now, you and I as vehicle drivers and commuters are not. And so most of the wins that have come in on the automobile front and the small engine front have come through two sources. One, through manufacturers and mandates federally to improve the capability, the cleanliness of vehicles. And then secondly, on fuels, which comes from our friends at our refineries that deal and have gone from tier 1 to tier 2, now to tier 3 fuels, which burn significantly cleaner than what we have previously. So all of that combined together has helped us become more clean with our air quality and have less days that exceed the exceedance, the allowance or the allowable PM 2.5 standard within our state implementation plan here in Utah. To put that in perspective, generally within the state of Utah, we would exceed that limit somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 14 days during the calendar year. Most of those typically tend to happen during cold times, again, as I described the inversion and how that works. And so air quality is certainly an issue of concern for us as manufacturers. Our manufacturers work very hard to meet those permit requirements, to do what they can to improve the air quality here in the state of Utah, and to help continue to drive the economy, make products that make our everyday life possible, but do so in a very environmentally responsible manner. And we're proud of what they do. Let me just talk about a couple of bills that are coming up that address this in air quality. And we'll talk about these today. And again, this is not super exciting stuff, but it is stuff that impacts our businesses. The ability for a company to get a permit, to apply for that permit, to meet the allowable standards, to be able to operate is critical in your ability to produce products. No matter what that is, you typically have a permit through the Division of Air Quality. And so it's critical that we work with our Division of Air Quality, our Department of Environmental Quality, to make sure that our companies are able to get permitted to operate and be able to manufacture products here in the state. So there's a number of things coming down the pipe that we're watching. If you hadn't had a chance to look at this, this is on our webpage, the UMA on the Hill, our week 2 legislative tracker. And we jointly track that with the Utah Mining Association. And so you'll see that when you go onto our website. But one of the first bills to come up is a bill on hydrogen tax credit. We're going to be looking at what credits there are available for the production of hydrogen in the state of Utah, how that might be used in an industrial application, whether that be from power generation or small types of uses for energy production within the industrial sector. So we'll be looking at that. That is a bill that is House Bill 89 by Representative Sagers out of Tooele County. And that bill's still in the Rules Committee, but we'll be watching that one. Second is a bill, House Bill 91, that's being run by Representative Stoddard. That's a bill that is titled Tax Credit Alternative Fuel for Heavy Duty Vehicles. That addresses how to take heavy duty vehicles, convert them either over to electric, natural gas, other means to help with the tailpipe emissions on some of these older vehicles that are not at the level of tier that they need to be perchance. They tend to operate within the economy and ultimately they will fall out of the fleet. But until they do, sometimes they can be a significant polluter from tailpipe emissions. And so looking at ways that we can provide tax credits to roll that fleet sooner. We've seen that happen in the small vehicle space. A vehicle prior to 2006 emits significantly more tailpipe emissions than a vehicle post 2006. So if you're running a vehicle that's 2015, 2016, and you're running tier 3 fuels in that, you're going to burn significantly cleaner as a vehicle than an older vehicle would. And that's why we do things like that. That's why we address what's called to as rolling coal within the state, where we don't alter diesel engines to be able to shoot out a puff of black smoke. That's technically and legally in violation of the state law, but it also has a big impact on us from an air quality standpoint. So the more we do on the industry side, the more we need to do on the automobile side as well to make sure that the overall impacts to air quality continue to reduce. So House Bill 91, that's a bill from Representative Stoddard. We're going to be looking at how to address that also from a tier 3 vehicle, a tier 3 fuel standard, as well as higher tiered vehicles, and see if we can't get some tax credits to encourage the rolling of the fleet quicker. House Bill 123 is a bill by Representative Handy that is the feasibility study for air quality laboratory. That is a bill that will look at, is there a need, and the data shows that we ought to be looking at an air quality laboratory here along the Wasatch Front. Again, continuing to look at ever increasing ways to improve the air quality. As an organization, we want to see that happen. It is a balance between improving air quality and not putting too stringent of burdensome regulations on industry that doesn't provide an improvement in air quality, but is a burden to you as a manufacturer in trying to make your product. And so it's a fine line as we look at those issues. Representative Handy's got another bill that is HB 131, which is the state energy efficiency amendments. That's a bill that looks at government operations, in particular the Division of Facilities Construction Management and the buildings that are owned by the state in the within the state of Utah, and looking at how efficient are they in how they operate in the use of solar, electric, natural gas, etc. And with that data, what could we do to try and make those buildings, those state-owned buildings, more efficient and use less energy and emit less emissions? So that's House Bill 131. House Bill 145 is a clean and renewable energy requirement from Representative Ward, which looks at addressing ways that we can increase the amount of clean and renewable energy that is coming into the communities here along the Wasatch Front. We certainly know that coal remains our largest by far power producer in the state of Utah, and it is a benefit to our manufacturing companies to have inexpensive electrical power. It is one of the most significant inputs to manufacturing, and so having that reliable, clean source of power is important. As we continue to transition over the next number of years from coal to more natural gas, to more solar, to more hydro, to more hydrogen, to more other types of clean fuels, we're looking at mechanisms that can help those projects come online quicker, which maintains the current price of power so we don't see a spike in power to our industrial users. Two things that are really critical in the energy sector for manufacturers are consistent power and low price power. And those two things have been drivers for economic development in the manufacturing arena here in the state for many, many years. And we want to continue to see that happen so our manufacturers can continue to grow. And energy certainly is a large aspect of that. Representative Handy has another bill, House Bill 153, entitled Energy Storage Asset Tax Credit. And that is a bill that would address the ability for industrial users to get a tax credit on 20% of the cost, or up to $100,000 towards the storage of energy for an industrial use. Again, companies that are looking at mechanisms to deal with energy costs and energy consistency, power consistency, and those types of things. So we're in a support position on that bill. HB 223 is Representative Ballard's bill on alternative fuel incentive amendments, and she presented this bill to the Air Quality Policy Advisory Board yesterday. That's a bill that again addresses hydrogen as well and talks about mechanisms to use some incentives to generate small hydrogen projects, whether they be in industrial uses, vehicles, other things like that, and how those will be balanced in conjunction with coal-fired power, natural gas power, and other types of power generation. So we haven't taken a position on that bill yet, but I have visited with Representative Ballard a number of times about that, and we're talking about how it might benefit the manufacturing community. Just a couple of other issues here before we move on. One is Senate Bill 15. Senator Dan McKay is running a bill called Workforce Solutions for Air Quality Amendments. Certainly over the last year, as many industries have transitioned to virtual workplaces, the ability to work remotely has had a significant impact on tailpipe emissions over the last 9 to 10 months along the Wasatch Front. We see most of those challenges obviously during the winter months, but we have noticed that CO2 is down and our overall emissions are down just by the sheer number of 60% plus individuals virtually working and not commuting each day. This bill by Senator McKay looks at mechanisms we could evaluate as to how to help state employees who work within state facilities and state government as to an option for them to telecommute and to virtually work. Isn't it interesting that 2 years ago we were looking at telecommuting and sometimes we were saying it's just not an option. We just can't do that within our industry. And today we've determined that many industries have the ability to virtually work virtually with the technology we've seen with video conferencing and those types of things. And so that'll be something we'll be looking at. We're monitoring that bill as well. Senate Bill 20 is run by Senator Iwamoto, and that is a bill that is the Air Quality Policy Advisory Board sunset extension. That extends that board that I said I was chair of, that we review those pieces of policy and legislation, and it extends that bill out through 2026, I believe it is. We're doing good work on that board, and we believe that we can improve and continue to do more in looking at policies and direction for air quality improvement in the state for industries, for consumers, for citizens, for everyone involved. And so that extends that bill out. It's already moved through the Senate and moved through the House, and it will be up on the board. So that bill will pass very quickly here. Maybe just one last issue on air quality, again, is that we as an organization are heavily involved in this area. We have a very active air quality committee with a significant number of professionals in the environmental space who are experts on air quality, and they participate with us on a quarterly basis and much more often to look at issues that pertain to air quality to the regulatory community as well as the manufacturing community. So I would say to those of you who perhaps don't play in that realm as much, know that we're watching a lot of those things and trying to protect the industry, do what's right for the environment, for the economy, but also protect our manufacturers and your ability to continue to make products every day to drive the economy and to continue to do the great things that you do. Again, week 2 has blown by really quickly. Next week, we anticipate the opportunity to talk a little bit about some tax issues and have one of our colleagues on from the Taxpayers Association and one of our other lobbyist friends to talk about what's going on in that tax arena. You probably heard some discussions on tax cuts, and we believe there's some direction to go in this session on that. So look forward to week 3 next week. We're excited to put these on each week. We hope you find them helpful. If you do, post in the comments there, send me a quick email or a text and let us know that this was helpful to keep you up to speed on the issues that are happening up on the Capitol, on the Hill. And as always, we continue to be your voice for manufacturing and to watch out for the things that impact you and help you to do a better job of manufacturing products here in the state of Utah. Thanks again. Have a wonderful weekend.